Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to break down why this exact moment, late 2025, is the opportunity many have waited a decade for. To understand why Florida is a buyer's paradise today, we must look at the cold data from September and October. We've moved from a frenzy market to a fundamentals market. In September 2025, single-family home inventory rose to 5.1 months of supply, a level we haven't seen in years. Most shockingly, price growth has slowed drastically, sitting at just 1.1% annually in October, the lowest level since 2012. This is not a collapse, it's a healthy correction. For years, sellers held all the cards, but today, with over 13,000 active properties in markets like Orlando alone and a 9% increase in new listings in October, power has shifted. Mortgage rates, which scared many in 2023 and 2024, have finally begun to ease, landing in the 6.2% to 6.4% range this December 2025. This creates a unique window of opportunity. Prices are stable or slightly dipping, while the cost of money is coming down. Don't wait for rates to drop to 4%, because when that happens, competition will return and prices will shoot back up. The trick is to buy now while inventory is high and sellers are willing to negotiate. In October, we saw that average days on market (DOM) rose to 77 days. A house that hasn't sold in 2 months is an open invitation for an aggressive offer. In this block, we will analyze how controlled inflation and job stability in Florida are allowing the market to find its balance, giving you, the buyer, the driver's seat for the first time in a long while. If you're looking for the true definition of a buyer's market in 2025, you have to look at condos. The data from September and October is staggering. Condo inventory in Florida has reached 9.1 months of supply. Technically, anything over 6 months is a buyer's market, but 9 months is essentially a paradise for anyone with ready capital or credit. Median condo prices fell 6.1% year-over-year in the third quarter of 2025, settling around $295,000 statewide. Why is this happening? It's the perfect storm of regulations. The SB 4D law, requiring strict structural inspections and reserve funding for buildings over 3 stories, has come into full effect. Many owners of older buildings, facing special assessments of $50,000 or more, have decided to put their units up for sale en masse. This has created an inventory glut in cities like Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and West Palm Beach. But here's the secret only an expert will tell you. Not all condos are created equal. While panic dominates the headlines, there are modern buildings or associations that have already completed their repairs and have 100% reserves. These units are suffering price drops due to market association, not real issues. In October 2025, we saw that nearly 43% of condo sellers reduced their prices to close before year-end. If you know how to identify a building with solid finances, you can buy today at a 15% discount compared to what it was worth 2 years ago. In this 1-hour segment, I will teach you how to read a reserve study and negotiate based on future maintenance fees. Don't be afraid of condos. Be afraid of not knowing which ones to buy. For years, property insurance was the villain of Florida real estate. However, as 2025 closes, the narrative has completely changed. Thanks to legislative reforms that eliminated assignment of benefits and limited abusive litigation, the market is healing. In December 2025, we can confirm that 18 new insurance companies have entered the state or relaunched commercial operations. This is pure competition, and competition always benefits the consumer. October 2025 data shows that companies like Florida Peninsula and other private insurers have requested premium reductions of up to 12% for condos and 8.4% for single-family homes. The state giant, Citizens Property Insurance, has successfully transferred hundreds of thousands of policies to the private market, indicating that insurers have an appetite for Florida risk again. The average insurance cost in the state has stabilized at about $3,815 annually. And for the first time in 5 years, we are seeing multiple coverage options for the same property. How do we use this as buyers? In this buyer's paradise, insurance is your best inspection tool. If a house has a roof older than 15 years, insurance will be more expensive. And that is music to your ears. Why? because you can use that data to negotiate a $15,000 to $20,000 price reduction on the premise that the house is hard to insure. Once you close the deal with that discount, you install a new, modern roof with wind mitigation certification and watch your premium drop by 30% immediately. In this section of the masterclass, we'll analyze how new constructions under the 2025 Building Code are extremely cheap to insure, and why impact windows aren't just a safety luxury, but one of the best financial investments in terms of monthly premiums. Now let's talk about money, but not just the money you have, the money you can get. In the September and October 2025 market, new home builders have become the buyer's best allies. With new home inventory at record levels, developers are offering aggressive incentives we haven't seen since 2008. We are seeing builders offer rate buydowns. While the market rate is around 6.3%, many builders are financing rates at 4.99% or even 5.25% fixed for 30 years. This can represent a savings of $400 to $600 monthly on your mortgage. Additionally, the Hometown Heroes program has been renewed for 2025, offering up to $35,000 in down payment and closing cost assistance for essential workers. But the most interesting thing in this buyer's paradise is the seller concession. In October 2025, it was reported that 35% of closed transactions included a seller contribution toward the buyer's closing costs. This means you can buy a property putting much less money out of pocket than you imagine. If you are a first-time buyer, this is the time to combine a low down payment FHA loan with a 3% seller concession and perhaps state assistance. As experts, we recommend this block is, don't just look at the sales price. Price is vanity. The monthly payment is reality. In this hour of content, I will teach you to compare a pre-owned home with a price discount versus a new home with an interest rate buydown. We will do the math together to show you that, in many cases, paying the list price with a 5% rate is much more profitable than negotiating a $20,000 discount at a 6.5% rate. Florida, in 2025, offers creative options that were previously reserved only for institutional investors. In 2025, we must put the map on the table. Florida is not one single market. It is dozens of micro-markets. October 2025 reports show that while Miami-Dade remains the most resilient and expensive market, areas like Orlando and Tampa have found perfect stability for the family buyer. In Orlando, the median price sat at $380,000 in October, with a healthy 4% increase in total sales compared to September. This indicates that demand is returning because prices finally aligned with what people can afford. However, if you are looking for extreme bargains, you must look toward Hialeah and Homestead. In October, these areas reported average discounts of up to 6% off list price and nearly 12 months of inventory in certain new home niches. This is, by definition, a total buyer's market. We cannot forget the Treasure Coast, including Port St. Lucie and Fort Pierce. These areas are absorbing thousands of people fleeing high costs in Miami and Broward. Here, the value per square foot is still significantly lower, and the quality of life is exceptional. In this section, we will navigate through real-time data analysis tools. I will show you how to identify zip codes where inventory has risen more than 20% in the last 2 months, because that is where sellers are most desperate to negotiate. We will also discuss the impact of the Live Local Act updated in July 2025. This law is allowing the development of thousands of affordable housing units in commercial zones, which in the long run will further balance rental and sales prices. Florida is growing, yes, but it is growing smarter. At the end of this block, you will have a list of the top 5 cities with the highest appreciation potential for the next 5 years, based on transportation infrastructure and new tech job hubs. Welcome to one of the most important sections of this masterclass. In the last 3 years, the word negotiation practically disappeared from the real estate vocabulary in Florida. Buyers simply gave whatever the seller asked, or more. But at the close of 2025, the tables have turned. Negotiating today isn't just asking for a discount. It's understanding seller vulnerability. October 2025 data shows that the sale-to-list price ratio has dropped to 96.4%. This means that, on average, homes are selling 3.6% below the asking price. It sounds like a little, but on a $500,000 home, we are talking about $18,000 that stays in your pocket. Our first golden rule after 25 years of experience is, look at the days on market. DOM. If a property in Orlando or Tampa has been active for more than 60 days this quarter, the seller is feeling the pressure of mortgage payments, taxes, and insurance. Every passing month, their net profit erodes. In this block, we will teach you the three-layer offer technique. We don't just lower the price. First, we analyze actual comparables from the last 30 days, not from 6 months ago. Second, we request a contribution toward closing costs. We saw that in October, 35% of closings included this. Third, we ask for a seller-paid home warranty. Why does this work now? Because competition has dropped. In 2022, you had 15 competing offers. Today, you might be the only serious offer that seller has received in 3 weeks. We understand your home is valuable, but based on the current 5-month inventory and the 6.3% financing cost, our offer reflects the current market value to ensure a quick and smooth closing. The key in 2025 is to be the buyer who offers certainty, not just money. We'll talk about handling counteroffers and why you should never, under any circumstances, show your emotional limit to the seller. He who has the capital today holds the command. In the frenetic market of a couple of years ago, many buyers made the capital mistake of buying as is without the right to inspect just to win the bid. In 2025, that is history. As your advisor with decades of experience, I tell you, contingencies are your best friends. In this buyer's paradise, you have the right and the obligation to check every single screw in the property. In September and October 2025, we have seen an increase in the use of the 4-point inspection and wind mitigation, not just as insurance requirements, but as renegotiation tools. If the inspector finds that the AC is 12 years old or that the electrical panel is from a discontinued brand, don't panic. Use that information. In the current market, it is perfectly acceptable to ask for a repair credit or a price reduction after the inspection. The seller would rather give you a $5,000 credit than put the house back on the market and explain to the next buyer why the first deal fell through. But let's go further. In this Block 7, we will analyze the appraisal contingency. Although prices in Florida have stabilized, we still see cases where the appraisal comes in below the contract price. In 2022, you had to cover that gap out of pocket. In 2025, you tell the seller, the house appraised for $10,000 less, so that is the new sales price. And they will likely accept because they know another appraisal will yield a similar result. We will also talk about the importance of sewer camera inspections and mold detection, critical issues in Florida's humid climate. I will show you how to read an inspection report without panicking. Remember, no house is perfect, not even new ones. The goal of the inspection in 2025 is not to find a house without defects, but to ensure that the price you are paying reflects the true condition of the property. Armoring your investment means that the day you get the keys, there will be no financial surprises to ruin your dream of homeownership. For many of you, Florida is not just a place to live, but a place to grow your wealth. In this minutes of our masterclass, we will enter the world of return on investment. The rental landscape in Florida has changed in the last year. Following the aggressive hikes of 2021 to 2023, rents have stabilized and even dropped 2.5% in high-density condo areas. However, this is not bad news for the smart investor. Why? Because the entry price has dropped, and financing options for investors have much more competitive rates in October 2025, such as DSCR loans, which are based on the property's cash flow and not your personal income. Nowadays, we are seeing a resurgence of long-term rentals in satellite cities like Lehigh Acres, Ocala, and Northport. With a state economy that continues to add jobs in tech and healthcare sectors, the demand for quality rental housing is inexhaustible. Let's talk about short-term rentals. Florida remains the #1 tourist destination, but local regulations have tightened in 2025. In this block, we will analyze which counties remain Airbnb-friendly and where the most severe restrictions are. For example, in Orlando areas near the parks, we are seeing that vacation home inventory has risen. This allows you to buy pre-furnished properties with rental history at significant discounts. The winning strategy in 2025 is house hacking. Buying a property with an additional unit or a 4-bedroom house where you can rent part of it while living in the other. With the Live Local Act encouraging density, it is now easier than ever to obtain permits for these additional units. I will show you how to calculate the real cap rate, including new insurance and maintenance costs, so that your investment in Florida is a solid financial business and not a headache. Investing in Florida in 2025 requires more surgical precision than before, but the margins for those who know how to buy well are more attractive than in the last decade. We did it! If you're still here after these few minutes of deep immersion in the Florida real estate market, let me tell you something. You already know more than 95% of the people trying to buy or invest in this state. You've shown that you take your financial future and your family's well-being seriously, and that deserves applause. As a company that has spent over 25 years watching neighborhoods change, rates rise and fall, and thousands of families fulfill their dream of owning their own home, my greatest reward is knowing that you now have the tools to ensure no one can deceive you. We've covered everything from the macroeconomics of September and October 2025 to the darkest secrets of inspections and the magic of creative financing. But remember, knowledge without action produces no results. Florida remains the state of opportunity, and this buyer's paradise won't last forever. Before we say goodbye, we'd like to ask you for a small favor that makes a big difference. If this content has provided you with value, if you learned something new today, or if you feel a bit more confident about taking the next step, please give this video a like. Your like is the signal YouTube needs to understand that this information is valuable, so it can help more people like you avoid costly mistakes. Also, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Tell us, which of these 5 blocks surprised you the most? Are you thinking of buying in Orlando, Miami, Tampa, or some hidden gem? I personally respond to as many comments as possible because I believe in being approachable and providing great service. And of course, don't forget to follow us on our social media channels, which will be linked in the description. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the time to be with me today. See you in the next video, and very soon, in your new home.